Welcome to the St. Louis Syndicate. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. Brandon, my friend, I'm done. I boycott. I'm out. I'm not doing it. Notre Dame didn't make the playoffs. I'm not doing the Syndicate podcast. That's it. It's more shit. I don't care if I like the SEC or not in Alabama. Shouldn't have got in over Notre Dame. I boycott. Oh, whoops. I'm back. That didn't last very long.
Oh, that was a tough putt.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those deals that, like, for me, I'd like them. I'd obviously enjoy it if they would just be more objective. I know that we had a computer program back in the day, and everybody hated it.
Yeah, that was awful.
But we didn't know as much about analytics back then either.
We didn't have AI.
Well, or just in general, I understand why they do it this way, because every conference wants to, get their licks in and kind of bend everything to their way, instead of going, hey, we're just gonna grab like the three sharpest books and go, what's your grade?
Yeah.
On the top, 50 teams, and then we'll just kind of average them out, and the top 12 players get through. And I get that, like, to a certain extent, that then takes everybody that's basically outside of the Big Ten and the SEC and puts them at a grave disadvantage. But we're kind of already there.
Yeah.
We're kind of already having these discussions of like, hey, should it be just 5 Big Ten teams and 5 SEC teams, and then like fill it out with a couple of teams that did all, like, it's kind of a mess. But everything's a mess at this point. We got transfer portals opening at the wrong time. We got, people going to a different college literally every year of their career. Like, it's a mess. So the only upside is that we went from 2 to 4, and 4, still you had some legitimate bubble teams. Here's the problem for our Notre Dame fans out there is if you're fighting over being 12th or 13th, you're going to get your ass waxed anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
There was almost no shot at it. Like, I get it when you're the fan of the team going, I'd like to see them keep playing. But when you have to go up against Ohio State and Georgia and apparently Indiana, Oregon, like, you're going to catch a whipping sometime before you get to the championship.
Right.
So it's fine. Everybody, that's the fun of college football, is to have your team and be epically mad when they get shaded by some dudes in a conference room somewhere. It is what it is. You can't play an NFL schedule where, hey, there's this mix and you're playing home and aways against teams, and you get down and you go, okay, these are probably legitimately the best teams into the playoffs, sort of thing. You have to kind of decide who would you rather, Alabama or Miami not made it?
Alabama. Yeah, I think I'm good with Miami making it. They beat Notre Dame head to head. They both had the same record. Yes, I understand both of Notre Dame and Miami probably played some weaker teams with their conference in their life.
Yeah.
I understand that. And I understand that Alabama played maybe some tougher teams. But the bottom line is, you have the schedule you have to execute against it. The only problem that I see there, and I do understand this, is that the whole conference championship game caused that third loss. So,
Yeah.
Without them having a conference championship that they play and causing that third loss, definitely there's an argument. So listen, I boycott because I'm funny, but I have two legitimate points on this before we get into pro football. And whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, it is what it is. In college sports, for the most part, all college sports except football have an RPI. And I mean,
Yeah.
softball has it, baseball has it, basketball has it. They don't have committees that meet weekly. They do have rankings. They do have things to give you an idea. The fact that this bowl committee has a meeting, starting in whatever, November 1st or something,
Yeah.
and starts placing these teams gives a false indication of
Yeah.
really what the picture looks like. And so it'd be like in your career, right? If you had a performance appraisal with your boss and your boss is going all along saying, you're kind of doing some good stuff. I really like how you've approached your work every day. And I like the fact that you show up on time. And I even like the fact that, we've actually had some success in a couple of our meetings. And then come to find out at rating time, you don't get a raise and you get put on a performance action plan because in January, you had a bad meeting and cost the company $30,000. But since then, you've been perfect. And they told you all along, you're fine, no big deal, you're fine, all big deal. That can't happen in real life. And this is exactly what happens is they're trying to measure people along. Put it in an RPI, right? That's a combination of what you were just talking about, right? Your power indexes, your computers, your technology. They have this for every sport at NCAA. Swimmers have it, tennis has it. They all have RPI ratings. Softball's a prime example. My daughter plays softball. They have RPI. They know who's going to make the regionals. It's usually a 64 team field. You know kind of who the top seeds are going to be, but they're still based on winning your conference and this and that. It's very much like basketball, which is also like baseball, which is also like these other sports. Football does it different, and because it's a spectacle and people want to see it and they're interested in that. But there's no reason why they can't expand this field to 16, throw all the conference winners in, and then use RPI to balance it out and let it fall
Yeah.
where it may.
No, I hate the resume thing.
It's this resume thing.
Going back to your meeting in January thing. I understand the history
Mhm.
and that people enjoy that there's this long history of this is the way that we've done it and here's how we've been able to build a brand and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But for me, when 2 years ago Florida State's quarterback got hurt and they went, "You're out."
No, that
And
was
they
awful.
went, "Hey, what in the absolute hell are you talking about?" And you're like, who wants to sit down on one of their holiday nights and watch the backup quarterback for Florida State get body slammed into the earth for 4 hours?
Right.
I don't care that your resume says we now know we have this problem. And I'll go a step farther actually. The tongue in cheek people that went, well, Ole Miss doesn't have their head coach anymore.
Yeah.
We should probably toss them out of the playoff. You go, wait. Was Lane throwing touchdowns?
Right.
I don't understand what you guys are talking about. Like, do you understand the coach is just some dude that stands on the sideline and calls plays or oversees what's like we're not you have a specific issue that in this sport, there's one player on the field, one human on the field, player, non-player, one human on the field that drives the success of your entire team. Quarterback.
Yeah.
You lose your quarterback, you're done. It's like taking the engine out of your car. You don't get to go. Like, I don't care. Lane somewhere else. Old boy Junior is still there calling plays.
Yep.
It don't matter. They got their whole team. Team's probably more pissed, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Probably going to get a better team coming at you. This thing where you can't even listen to people talk about the sport without understanding like where they went to school or what conference. Like it drives me nuts. I get it when we want to talk about it or we listen to the guys on the Sandman podcast and they have opinions because they are a fan of the sport.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's cool. We're going to have opinions but the adults that get paid a bunch of money to do this kind of thing on TV need to pull their head out of their ass.
Yeah.
Because like you need to have some actual thought out opinions and go, we want the 12 best teams in. And if you're making any other argument than that, you're coming from a position of,
bias.
I don't want this to be logical. I want it to be something else.
Yeah. It's a
And
bias.
that's fine. As long as you started off going, hey, I love tradition. I want it to be this other way. Well, okay, cool. Say your piece. And then we'll move on to somebody that has a logical thought. And we'll have them flesh it out. Like we'll listen to that thing.
We're gonna only talk to
because-
the people who agree with what Brandon thinks.
Oh, or just have a logical thought. You can disagree, like have a through line. Go, hey, this is why, and this is how we want to apply it to everything. Not just, here's how I can either shine or shit on whatever situation. And then later on, I'll figure out a way to reword my argument so it still fits the next thing that comes up. It's very clear. Put your 12 best or 16 best or 30 best or whatever that are going to play this weekend and go, these are the best teams. We know what they are.
Yeah.
We're on a podcast that talks about spreads. You go to Circa and Bookmaker and Pinnacle and go, neutral field. Where's everybody line up? And they're going to be within literal half points of each other.
Right.
Of who the best teams are. And you go, we'll just have these 12 guys play.
Yeah.
And I get it. If you're JMU and you have an amazing season and then you've got to go play a bowl game, that is what it is. Or maybe they need a secondary playoff. Or I honestly, I don't care. I'll watch anybody play football at any time.
If you can bet on it.
Well, I literally, whether I bet or not, if I went upstairs and I started up YouTube TV and across the top, there's a bunch of boxes because YouTube's figuring out what I like. There could be Pee Wee football being played on ESPN Plus. If that's the football game that's on right now, I'll just go, okay, cool. I'll watch 12-year-olds hit each other. I don't care. I just want to watch dudes play football.
Yeah.
The saddest thing about this entire scenario is that nobody wants to play in bowl games anymore.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is taking off time between the 15th and the 1st and then just eating breakfast at noon and going like, what two random teams are playing? Instead of like, I want to watch dudes hit each other and throw the ball around. It's that simple. I get it. It's Super Bowl or bust. It's World Series or bust. But at a certain point, you do have to go, hey, I didn't go to Georgia, so I'm not going to get to play for a championship every year. That's just how it is.
No.
That's just reality. You got to take reality on reality's terms. So, yeah, that's why listening to all these people talk for the last 2.5 weeks has slowly melted my brain.
Nothing like me throwing a boycott at you. Oh, I got my second point I got to bring at you. I got to bring my second point to you.
Do it.
All right. And I don't know if we've talked about it on here or not. I don't think we have. But I need to figure out, like, okay, this is not Nate's idea. Okay, credit is going to somebody else. Okay. Here's the problem. I don't know where I heard it. I hear so much shit all the time. So I don't know where I heard it. But this is one of the best things I can think of to fix college football. It's not playoff related. It's portal NIL related. Okay. When you are a freshman coming in, you have a choice. You can retain your portal eligibility, or you can sign a 4-year contract with your team, with your school. And whatever your team wants to pay you, based on whether you're a 5-star or a 4-star or whatever, I don't care, whatever they think it's worth, you can take that. So let's say the school says, we're going to give you $250,000 coming in as a freshman. Okay. That's it.
Yes.
It's $250,000 a year for the next 4 years. That's your contract.
Okay.
You're not allowed to transfer. You signed a contract.
Okay.
You're done.
Yeah.
Now, you can waive that right to money your freshman year and retain portal eligibility. Bet on yourself.
Okay.
If you're good, maybe your current school will sign you for $500,000 for the next 3 years. Maybe it'll sign you for $1.5 million for the next 3 years. Or maybe you can take your services elsewhere. But the minute you sign any NIL deal, you're done transferring. That's your team. That's your contract. No extraneous circumstances. No, what if my coach leaves? No. You've made a
Is
decision.
guaranteed money?
Huh? Guaranteed money.
Guaranteed money.
3 years.
Okay.
One guaranteed. You know, if it's $1 million and you get $3 million, you get $1 million for the next year. You can't hold out because we'll just not play you and you'll burn your eligibility out and maybe not get a chance to go to the show or whatever. We'll still give you your $3 million, but you'll sit on the bench.
Okay.
You'll never play. We're going to give you, you know, if you go into your second year. Now, I would even go so far as to say I would agree that every player, because right now, I don't know if you know this, at the NCAA level, not every player gets $1 million to play football. But
True.
usually,
Yes.
like the 85th guy on the roster might make like 10 grand, 8,500. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say that we can make it a minimal threshold. If you sign a dollar amount above 50,000 in NIL money, then
like you can go out and get enough money to some wham, but like if you're getting enough to
NCAA football,
wealth,
whatever they give you to spread out, whatever the school gives you, and you can go out and if you get a Doritos deal for $1 million, that doesn't mess with your eligibility.
Okay.
Eligibility only comes because these schools are fucking paying kids. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
So that's the contract. That's the big money. Now, if you have an endorsement deal has to be something different. Now, I understand they'll be looking for loopholes and all this shit. There's got to be lawyers involved. There's got to be people smarter than Nate. Figure this out.
Sure.
But the premise is you sign a contract, no more portal. You don't sign a contract, you can go anywhere you want until you sign your deal. So if you want to bet on yourself at Kansas State, thinking you're going to get to Georgia and be the Georgia quarterback in 2 years, you don't sign for any more than the minimum threshold of 50,000. You take your 50,000, you put it in a savings account, you get an education, you learn how to play football, you have a great year. Georgia wants you for 1.2 for the next 3. Kudos. You can transfer because you did not sign a contract. You come into Mizzou freshman year and sign a $300,000 a year contract because mom needs a house and that's what you're going to do. You're going to sign a contract. You're going to get $300,000 for the next 3 years. Don't come to me and say you want to go to Georgia for 1.5, or don't tell me you want to go to Texas and play with Arch Manning for 2.2. You signed your deal. That's how this works. Because if we're going to treat these players like rich NFL contract players, we've got to stop the portal. Free agency in the NFL, you can't transfer every year. There has to be a cut somewhere.
No, I like the bones of this for sure. Like with all things, the problem is actually sticking to it.
Yeah.
Because once you're in it, there's no incentive to stick with it because the teams also want to do whatever the hell they want to do.
Well, the NCAA has to regulate.
We're unfortunately having this problem. Well, and that's the issue, right? Is that we have no fiduciary in this deal.
No.
We just have Wild Wild West going on both sides.
That's why I want to try to control
because because I like the bones of it to go.
This was not my idea. Somebody said this, I heard it, and I thought,
sure,
that's the bones to how you fix it.
I have not heard that exact explanation, and I think that's a really good one to go, hey, look, if you guys want to be employees, then we'll make you employees. And I'll go a step farther. Here's the thing that always bothers me about pro sports, right, is you have people that go, that they look at each individual team as its own company instead of as a department of a company. You play pro football, you work for the NFL, you work for the department of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, they don't do that though, because the NFL.
But that's what you're doing. That is what you're doing. Well, legally, that's what you're doing.
Yes.
Like the contracts and everything. The teams are LLCs basically that are like subsidiaries of the National Football League and all that sort of stuff, right? Yeah. Where you go, oh, this draft is so restrictive. I don't want to go play for that team. Tough shit. Do you want to work for the NFL or do you not? The NFL will then go, this is how we assign you to a department to work for.
Yeah.
If you don't like the department you work for, you can talk to somebody about getting into another department. But if nobody wants you, then you can choose to go work for another team. And I think that part of that structure has to be the same way in the NCAA, that you go, hey, you want to play football? Okay, we're going to have you come in and you are going to work now for the NCAA, basically. And you, in this scenario, are going to be able to assign yourself to the department you want to go to. You're going to go work out a deal with the coach that runs that department. And then your structure going, okay, you want to sign with them and then they can pay you? Or do you want to go out and find all your own money through sponsorships? And I think that that structure is kind of the way that the mindset has to change around the sports to go,
I could see
do
that.
you want to work for this company, or do you want to be a mercenary and be, I can jump between department depending on what quarter and who's up and who's down? Because we for the longest time went, hey, if a coach leaves, then we should allow the players to leave, just emotionally.
Right.
Regardless of what the rules were, emotionally, hey, you were recruited by this guy and he's now going somewhere else. So if you would like to then go somewhere else because you were recruited by that guy, then fine, do it. But now you're an employee.
Now you're an employee.
You're going to work for a company.
Totally different.
Your manager could switch departments. They could pass away. It is a durable, living being. The company goes on. You want to come here and work for this manager? He might be here next year. He might not. I don't know what to tell you. You sign the deal, you're working for the company. If you want to be a mercenary, be a mercenary. You be a contractor. You jump from place to place. You make your own money. There's no guarantees, yada, yada, yada. But I think that's what goes along with that framework.
Very similar to the framework.
Yeah, I think it's exactly the same thing. It's about finding the right words to like legally start to pin this in and go, that's the problem, is there's nobody that's leading. The only person leading is the Supreme Court, basically.
Right.
Like, we have a lawsuit, it goes up, there's a ruling, and then they go, all right, these guys said we have to do a thing now. So I guess we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what about all the things that causes? And they're like, oh, let me get the hell out of the way. Like, because the people that are
nobody thinks about
still
that.
winning, well, there's no incentive to.
No,
right? If you're the people that run the sport, basically, you're Georgia and you're Ohio State and you're Oregon and you're even, Clemson and, these big teams, you go, well, I'm on top.
Yeah.
So I don't really want too much stuff to change. And unless I start to lose my position, I'm going to be real quiet about what's going on because I think I can keep winning.
Yeah.
And if there's nobody that's outside of it going, I'm a disinterested third party, and we're going to put some rules in place that get all of you guys to start playing under the same framework and towards a goal of not just optimizing how much you get paid for your TV rights, but like the health of the game, we're just going to slowly melt this entire sport down to just being like a minor league for the NFL.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the thing anymore. And then you're staring at XFL played on college campuses, basically. And like, you're going to kill the golden goose.
Yeah.
But
they're trying to kill it.
Hopefully somebody will get enough backing to force some sort of centralized oversight at some point.
If anybody likes that idea and wants to hire Brandon and I, Call
Believe me,
Bill
yes.
at Sandman Sports. He'll get you in touch with us.
I
Work
will
work cheap
gladly,
to work for. Cheap.
yeah, I will sport czar the NCAA for you guys without
Yeah.
a doubt.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, so we wasted 26 minutes of our intro on me boycotting and then college football, and this is a pro football show, so we probably ought to talk a little bit of pro football.
Hey, like, well, let's just jump right to the next.
Jump right in. All right, I think we can jump right
Yeah.
in. You know, we'll talk about the games this week. How about that? Let's pick out 3 or 4 that
Yes.
our
Yeah.
numbers
Yeah.
are looking good on, and kind of break them down for everybody.
Yeah.
Do you have your numbers up? I've got mine up. I can pull one that I kind of have a really big
Yeah. Let's
discrepancy on.
start. What's your biggest advantage look like this week?
All right. Well, my biggest advantage is not one I'm going to play. My numbers say that the Indianapolis Colts, who are traveling to Bills Seattle Seahawks, should only be
Yes.
catching 3.1. But in reality, the number's 13.5 that I can see. So there's a good chance I'm probably playing Indianapolis at a plus 13.5. But there's this thing we got to talk about going on in Indianapolis right now, where they called my great grandpa and they asked if he could play, and he turned them down. He said, "No, I'm not playing." So then they called my dad. My dad used to play at Mizzou back in the day. And my dad goes, "I got to trick me." And they go, "Well, who the hell else can we call?" And they said, "Let's call Phillip Rivers. He's only 44. And son of a bitch, he said yes.
It's real hard at this point in my life to get people older than me playing the sport. And Indianapolis has succeeded at this.
Yes. So
Now,
I'm not
I'll tell
certain.
you,
I think this is going to be a Riley Leonard week. I'm just saying that. But for you betting folks, I'm a huge fan of Seattle at 13.5 to cover this or to win this. I think they probably could cover it. I would like to see Indianapolis show up and keep this thing within 2 touchdowns. I don't know if they can get it done or not. I just, they're busting apart at the seams. They got this rookie who's trying to play, and that Seattle defense is nasty. They just do some shit. And I'm telling you, this game is how I see it, right? I wake up on Sunday morning and I go, "Oh, I'm going to put it on Seattle. I'm going to put a low point value on Seattle, Brandon. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to, say a couple of prayers that Seattle covers. And then I'm going to come home, and Indianapolis is going to be up 14-3 in the second quarter. But by the end of the game, it's going to be 35-14 because there's going to be 2 pick sixes, and somebody's going to break their leg, and they're going to scoop and score a touchdown, and then Darnold will throw for a couple. And they're going to come back with a flurry over 3 quarters. So
that's my issue, is that at this point, after watching this number of weeks with Seattle, anytime they play a bad team,
they start slow.
But the Tennessee game is the only one where then it stayed close. They just pull the F away. And so because I'm using full season win totals.
Yeah.
It did adjust some for this. So mine is at 10.3.
Okay.
Favorite, which is still inside that both the 13.5 that it is right now and the 11.5 that Super Contest locked at, and Ben Harper and all the Sandman leagues locked at 11.5.
Yeah.
So that's not a huge difference between that and 13.5, right? Once you get to 10.5, kind of like 13 is a little bit right there. 12, it lands there every once in a while. But the difference between 11.5, 13.5 is a couple of percentage probability points. But I have a hard time picturing, even if Daniel Jones was the level of injured that he was last week and didn't get furtherly hurt, how they would be how this would be even a shorter number. That's the thing that screws me up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the number would be inside the 10. It'd be more like 8.5, 9.5, somewhere around there.
Yep.
But you would still be looking at that number going, that could just as easily be 14, 17, or 21. Like, when the game ends.
If it's here's the funny thing, though, is if that thing was at 9.5, I'd probably put top points on Seattle. Why do 4 points matter so much? Well, because they do in the NFL with these kickers that can kick it forever. And
they absolutely do. I think that Phillip Rivers, obviously, or at least to me, maybe it's not obvious to everybody, changes the variance wildly.
Yeah.
That this is either he comes in and he's fine, and the coaching staff has a good plan, and they're able to protect him and let him throw the ball, and he ends up being fine. And then he just steadies the team and they play, or he is absolutely washed.
Mm.
And they take a beating worse than starting a rookie quarterback. I don't think there's a lot of in between. Now, if they start Riley Leonard and he's got a beat up knee, and then they go, well, he's going to go, though, because Phillip's not really ready to start 6 days after he gets off the couch. We need more like 13 days to get him, squared up. And we're probably not beating Seattle anyway. So let's not send Phillip out there to just get worked. We'll do the thing that happened with them running old boy from Minnesota out there and let it. Seattle will get 2 games in 3 weeks where they just get to just work a rookie. And I think that, unfortunately, for this is a middle number.
Yeah.
That if Phillip goes, there is going to be slight downward pressure.
Yeah.
Because there will be the public that goes, this is sweet. Let me put some money on the Indianapolis side. And it'll put some pressure on it. And I think if they go, no, for real, we're going to let Riley Leonard start this game, that this goes through the 14.
Yeah, probably.
So that's, unfortunately, then what you're staring at of going, do I take the 11.5 and the 13.5 when the live number's somewhere above 14? Do I lay 13.5 with a team that nobody likes laying double digits in the NFL anyway? So it's going to be a very interesting Sunday morning as they try to wait until the last second to call which direction this is going to go. I think. I think that's where we're headed.
I can't imagine. So I know how I've aged the last 10 years. And he hasn't played competitive football at this level for 5. And he retired for a reason. It wasn't because he just couldn't play anymore. His mechanic, things were slowing down for him. Right? He was getting hit a lot, or, the game was passing him. And he could have kept playing if he wanted to. Something caused him to say, I'm done. I don't think that anybody just pushed Phillip Rivers out. I think that there was a decision made that he says, I'm not executing the way I used to. So I don't know what he's been drinking for the last 5 years. It sure hasn't been, if you saw a picture of him, he's got old man chunky face. He does not look like he's in Tom Brady shape. He does not look like.
I was surprised how well he walked up the stairs onto the. You see him talk to the media today?
Yeah.
He right up the steps. I was like, that's better than I can do, to be perfectly honest. But hand up.
This is how we're judging our NFL quarterbacks. How do you wobble up the stairs?
He didn't wobble. He walked with purpose.
Joe Burrow couldn't do it with his toe.
The guy, hey, he has a magical arm though. He did get up the stairs quite nicely. That surprised me. I thought there was going to be a little, I'm
Jesus.
still ramping up, getting back into like, deep stretches, that sort of thing. But
Yeah, no, that's good.
that part bounced back.
I really think if I had to have one point about the whole thing, is that I think the toughest part for him is going to be whatever you do, whenever we find out he's playing, bet the first half under for Indianapolis. Because the speed of the game is going to be so fast in his eyes. He's going to be like, I don't have my cheaters to look at my thing. He's going to go,
I think that's
if
a
it's
really
Seattle, it's like, zoom, there goes that defensive back. Oh, don't throw it there. I mean, it's going to be so fast. He hasn't seen anything this fast in 5 years.
5 years. Yeah, I think that is a really good
Speed.
angle to go. Like you could probably go the team total under. I think it'd be fair to make an argument for the game under because they're probably going to try to slow down the entire clock.
Yeah.
And just go, hey, let's kill some time. Let's
let Jonathan Taylor run the ball. Let's hit an out pass because we know Phillip can throw it to the tight end across the middle in the outs. We're not pushing the ball down the field. The defensive backs that can break on one of those outs, though, man, there's going to be a pick six. I swear. He's just not going to see it. It's when you have not been studying film and watching in practice and taking reps of linebackers that move laterally faster than a 4.4, and you're trying to put your 44-year-old arm and think it's 24. I know. Listen, I played high school sports, Brandon. We played. And you know what I think I can do when I go outside? I think I can be like a high school kid. No. It hurts.
It's a good way to rip your quad completely off the bone.
Shit doesn't move the way that it used to. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that Phillips hasn't kept himself in shape and he's not fun, but I'm telling you, bet the unders, bet the lows. There's going to be a learning curve on the speed of the game.
I think that's a really good insight because even going through a couple of days of practice, it's not going to be the same.
Shit, they might win the game. I don't know. He might do fine, but
that's what I'm saying. Like I think
are going to be low.
If you let him out there, it's going to be weird variance. Somehow Indianapolis is always in the center of this shit.
I don't know how they do.
The last time we got weird variance was Jeff Saturday, right? Take him right out the studio at ESPN, let him be the head coach. They win their first game, and then fall apart.
Well,
we're staring down the same.
I'm probably going to be on Seattle, but definitely the under.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to end up too.
What's your, let's see here. What's the game you want to chat about that's got a good variance for you?
So it feels like we are, I don't know that this team, New England, we've just kind of been riding New England because we think the numbers are behind what they're actually doing, that they can't make the adjustment to catch up because of all the priors. I think we potentially have another team that's working their way into this. And it just kind of depends on whether they have the fortitude that New England has to have a down week.
Okay.
And that is the Houston Texans.
Okay.
I make them a 16-point favorite over Arizona this week at home. We're at 9.5.
Whew.
That's a bunch of fun key numbers. You stay under the 10. You got the 12, the 13, the 14, all the way up to the 16 when you're talking about. Now, obviously, my numbers kind of get wide on the edges, right? Because they're kind of unbounded where scores kind of only work the one way and you don't have a lot of 17-point wins.
Yeah.
Structurally. It happens because the team completely falls apart. I think that we're going down the road of Arizona might, for real, fall apart playing this Houston defense if there isn't just a flat week. And I don't think that this is the kind of scenario when you're inside the 10 to get afraid of the flat week because Arizona's D is not good. It's not like, hey, they're going to go in. And the thing that you worry about with Houston is can the offense continue to move along at a reasonable clip? They're the 18th ranked offense. They're the second rate defense. Well, when you look at Arizona and you go, they're the 19th ranked offense. They're the 30th ranked defense. Is that 30th ranked defense going to be able to take advantage of the fact that they're playing against an average offense? Probably not. Will they slow him down some? Will Stroud seemingly not be able to get the ball where he wants it to go? Okay, cool. I'm with you. But
Yeah.
the sheer negative plays that can be caused when you let a number 2 defense loose on Jacoby Brissett and Michael Wilson and basically a bunch of dudes that you don't know the name of other than Trey McBride.
Yeah.
I don't know where.
Did I lose you?
So I don't know where that line is that you go, hey, 10 points ain't that bad. What is your number, mate?
My number is nowhere near that. My number's on the opposite direction of it. And I'm not exactly certain why. My number says Houston minus 4.6. So I think that's interesting how far apart we are.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got significant pieces of this that are weighted against Arizona and with an improvement in Houston, and I still have that, which tells me that my points per play, which is a driving formula of mine, is in there. I'm showing right now that Arizona averages 21.7 points per game. And I'm showing that Houston averages 21.8 points per game. So for me, all things being equal, my averages are my formulas are thinking Arizona's going to do better than this defense. It's like not accounting for how good Houston's defense is. So Houston is only giving up from a defensive points per play 0.27, which is the best in the NFL.
Yeah.
0.27 defensive points per play, which it's a form you got to extrapolate out the formula to make any damn sense of it.
Sure. Yeah.
One of the things that's benefiting the hell out of Arizona in my numbers is they actually run 65 offensive plays a game. Houston, most teams, the average of offensive plays per game is 61. So they're averaging an additional 4 plays per game, which is driving numbers up in the variance. So I know I'm talking a lot of numbers. When I take a
No,
look
you're right.
at my projected points in this game, because that's another place that I like to start with. My
Yeah.
projected points my projection points is right on those averages, man, for those guys at 21 and 21. So I think the bottom line here is this is a defensive play for me. I don't think Arizona's going to score against Houston's defense. And so I will probably be on Houston here just to cover, but it's going to be a low point. I'm not going to be able to say, oh, I'm going to put 16 or, big dollars on Houston to cover this 10.5. I do not believe Arizona's going to score against them. And so this game might be 21-7 or 21-10. And I could see 21-10 being a final score pretty easily in this contest, or even 24-10. Just be based on how many points Houston normally scores, because that offense that you even said is a little sus. I do think Arizona's going to get their 10, which covers the 9.5. Fine. I don't think it covers your 16. One thing I wanted to look at, though, is this a look-ahead spot for Houston, because Houston's trying to win. They got to win the conference, right? They got to win the division. Who do they have to look ahead to? The good news for Houston is they play Arizona, Vegas, and then they got the Chargers and Indianapolis. So, and they're home 3 of the next 4. Houston is going to be favored this week by 9.5. Next week, they're going to be favored by 13.5 against Vegas, would be my guess.
Yeah.
If you can
Something
find
like
a
that,
look ahead, if you can find a look ahead line to find Houston with like a -8 or a -7 or -9, and you're playing on your DraftKings app or something, I would look to get Houston before they throttle Arizona and make that number go up to 13.5 or 14. But as far as this week goes, I'm probably going to be on Houston, but just I don't know if I can justify high point values. I got to tell you, Brandon, looking at my numbers this week, I don't know who I love. If I say, we talk a lot about, well, who's your 5-point play? Who's your 5? Who's your 4?
Right.
Who's your 3? Who would be your top play this week? And I'm really struggling to find a top play out there based on my numbers. Dallas looks good at a high level, but that's only because Minnesota's been so bad for so many weeks that their numbers and average points per play are skewed. I think 6.5 is the right line for that game. I think that Chicago is more than a 7.5 point. I like Chicago in this place against Cleveland, but you never know what
Dead nuts
Myles
on it.
Garrett. Huh?
I'm at 7.6
Yeah.
without home field advantage.
I'm 8.7 Chicago. So that's your home field
Yeah.
advantage. So my numbers, I don't have massive discrepancies. If I had to have, normally I like to look also at like division opponents, like Baltimore, Cincinnati. My number says Cincinnati should be +1. Well, they're +2.5. I mean, that's
I got
okay.
Cincy -6.6.
Whew. You've Cincy
That was the
minus
other.
6.
That was the next one I was going to bring up.
What-
That's the next. Well, I mean, what's driving it is that when you look at Cincy, they've got a very easy future schedule. They're towards the bottom of strength of schedule. They are outperforming the spread on a weighted average.
Mhm.
And Baltimore is playing
like
so
that.
poorly
They are playing bad.
that they are the second worst team against the spread. They have a hard, let's see here, where are they at? They are the 5th hardest schedule. And their win total just keeps falling. So it's skewing Baltimore way more than Cincinnati. Like I have Baltimore as a -5.3, Cincinnati a +1.3. So it's more Baltimore underperforming than Cincinnati doing anything. But the fact that they have come back and then overperformed these last 2-3 weeks, and my model is skewed heavily towards the more recent that anything happened. It's really, really enjoying Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm probably
going back to the
I agree with
conversation that
you
we
there.
had last week, we know that we have this problem with this round robin in that division, that everybody seems to be having this problem where they're underperforming, but Baltimore's kind of leading the way, which makes this one jump off the page to me when the numbers then say, hey, we can get a couple of points. Sandman, it's 1.5. Gap, we're 2.5. And I don't.
That's
Baltimore seems to be just completely unraveling. I don't know. I don't know what you would watch last week's game and go, here's where they're getting better. I get it. They kind of got hosed on that touchdown, maybe.
Yeah.
They weren't going to cover still. Might have won that game, but they weren't going to cover 5.5 or 6.5. They were still going to underperform for the line. Now, obviously, the fans of Baltimore could care less about them covering when they're just trying to keep them alive to get to the playoffs. But this is one of those things where you go, okay, now you get to go on the road. And what's susceptible on Cincinnati's side? Their defense. What are they gonna do to take advantage? Because it seems that the offense is the broken part. and that the defense is falling apart because they're not getting any support. Like a defense can only hold the line for so long.
Yeah.
When you go and try to catch your breath and you're watching the other half of your team not be effective week after
Right.
week after week after week, and to watch some of the leaders of the NFL, where you got Lamar and Derrick Henry, who are supposed to be the people that you can go, those guys are automatic. Maybe another part of our offense falls down, but those guys are going to do their job, and it's not working. I don't know why, but they're still rating as the 7th best offense.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Are they?
Honestly? Yeah. I'm looking at unpredictable. They're 7th best offense, 13th best defense. They're in the same boat as KC, basically. They're 6 and 7, and both of their sides of the ball are still being rated pretty highly, but they're not getting any of the traction to the tires. Like,
It's like they're not
they're
getting
just
close calls. They're shooting themselves in the foot. They're not converting first down. There's little details that it's like coaching details that are failing in those instances.
Yeah, or just execution focus details. Like
execution,
that you just go, we clearly have a problem here. And then what is our favorite thing? Home dogs in division.
Yeah. No, I like that.
So it just puts a spotlight on Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's probably a top 3 play for me, man. No, I
like that's that one and in Houston are the two that really jump off the page where you go, hey, this seems like you have two teams going opposite directions just mentally. And so yeah, hey, those are the two that are the most interesting. You got another one that's you have a decent delta between your number and where our line blocked?
Not a massive delta. I think it's interesting. One thing that I think should be more of a delta, and it's not. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just. Didn't Miami play the Jets last week? Isn't that what that was? Okay.
Yeah.
So the Jets are.
They are.
I find it difficult to believe that Miami on a Monday night can go into Pittsburgh and score and hang at all. Now, my number says Pittsburgh's 3.5. Our number and the thing says 3.5. I'm looking at the weather forecast, and it says for Monday night, it's going to be 21 with a 7-mile-per-hour wind and a slight chance of snow. I'm not sure Tua has ever done anything in that weather. And Rodgers can thrive in that shit. And TJ Watt can thrive in that shit. And Pittsburgh still is up and down a season as they had. They're not out just yet. And
no,
I just feel like this is going to be a Pittsburgh, 18 or 22-6 or 9. Maybe they squeak one in and make it 13. But I think Pittsburgh's going to cover this 3.5, if nothing else, because this is the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night against the Miami Dolphins in the snow. That's not going to work well for Miami. It's just Short Pants isn't going to know what to do over there on the sidelines against Tomlin and the boys.
Well, okay. So the only thing that gives me pause, and I don't have the numbers, and maybe you've got some over on your side. The way that Miami beat up on the Jets last week was they gave the ball to Achane, and he walloped them. Now, I don't know about the efficiency numbers, and I don't know what Pittsburgh's defensive rush defense efficiency numbers look like. But that would be the one angle that I go, if I'm going to lay 3.5 with Pittsburgh, I would want to get more comfortable that I think that they are going to do well with stopping the run.
Right.
Because if they can just run down their throat, then Tua gets off the hook. And he gets to go, hey, I'm gonna throw minimally, I'm going to hand the ball to Achane, going left and going right and going up the middle, and I'm going to get the hell out of the way. And if Pittsburgh is not doing well from an efficiency standpoint against the run, that's where it could get out of hand when it starts getting cold.
Okay. Let me pull up some stats here.
Okay. Because, and while you're doing that, my numbers make Miami a 1.4. So
really, holy
it's
crap.
one of the couple of games this week. I've got, I think, 3 here where it's flip-flopped, favorite and an underdog in my numbers. So that's one that kind of jumped off the page. 1.4 isn't huge. You start talking about Pitt having a home field advantage. You really get, even if you just give them 2 points, you get on the other side of the 0. That's a little bit different. But that 3.5 is what worries me, because I definitely, if you go, hey, let's make a money line bet, I'm going Pittsburgh, because I think they definitely figure out a way to win this game. But last second field goals, just holding a 3-point win, those sorts of things feel where, hey, we get down to the end, it's, 21-20. Now Tua's got to throw the ball. He can't do it. They close him out. Those sorts of things where when you start running out of time and you start losing the ability to run the ball, where, hey, maybe you can't close a gap, but when you're in the first half and you're able to just go, we're going to just establish the run, maybe we lean Miami's direction here a little bit, and it's just an execution game in the first half.
So let me give you some rushing stats.
Wait.
Okay. NFL team opponent rushing attempts per game. So in the last 3 games, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had the most rushing attempts against them per game than anybody in the league in the last 3. 38 attempts per game. Now for the season, they're at 28. So in recent weeks, teams have been running the ball against them a little bit more. Okay. Now that's just attempts. Now on yards per game, okay, the Steelers are ranked in giving up yards per game, 125 yards per game. The last 3, they've averaged 188. So who has been the Pittsburgh Steelers' last 3 opponents?
So they lost to Chicago 3 weeks ago by 3.
Yeah.
That was that they were 3-point underdogs, and they lost by those 3. I think that was the week that Chicago had 200-yard rushers, if I'm not mistaken. Then last 2 weeks ago, they lost to Buffalo 26-7 when they were 3-point underdogs. So they underperformed by 16 points. And then last week, they beat Baltimore by 5, 27-22.
Okay.
So, they overperformed there.
They had Baltimore rushed a lot against them in that game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so, right? If I mean, I can't say that I was watching the run split all that closely in that game, but
so Miami
obviously, if your
is the
numbers
8th
are
ranked.
188,
Miami averages 125 yards a game rushing. The last 3, they're at 190, but that's a little skewed because they went for 240 against the Jets.
that is the last thing that they did.
That is the last thing that they did. That being said, during that game, Achane did crack a rib, I believe, or at least got injured. Now, I just checked the injury report, and it looks like he's going to play. The MRI was inconclusive, and so he's going to play. So he'll get, just so you know, though, that's a thing.
Feel a little bruised up at the very least.
Mm-hmm. So
Get
rushing
out there in the
play
cold and
percentage, Miami has been rushing the ball 45% of the time in 2025. And the last 3 games, they've rushed it 59% of the time, which leads the NFL. So you're very tuned in to Miami, apparently, in their rushing game. So I think that you're onto something there. Now the question is, can it translate to
right.
stopping can the Steelers stop the run? And so, from a defensive rushing perspective, opponents' rushing yards per game, the Steelers are giving up 125 a game, 188 in the last 3. So that's a struggle. Rushing play percentage against the Steelers has been the last 3, 54%, and they're at 41%. So, it's pretty balanced as to the Steelers have been getting rushed on exactly what Miami's going to want to do to them. So, how does that translate? Does it
Man.
mean
Yeah.
the way I read this is it translates to an underplay. I'm not exactly sure what the over under is,
Uh,
but
it was 42 earlier today.
yeah, my numbers would make this game at a 45. So being under a 42 would be pretty reasonable to me. And that would hold true if my prediction of 22 to 13 held true. That would work.
Yeah. That does seem pretty fair. Because obviously, if Pitt
Now,
gets a bit of a lead, they're going to try to take the air out of the ball as well, kill clock. So, yeah, that,
I don't know. I don't know, but that's just a number that, I look at and it jumps off the page at me. 3.5 is a big number spread wise, probably, but I don't think it's going to be too big for Pittsburgh in this instance because I just don't think Miami can play defense or excuse me, can play in the cold. And traditionally that we've seen them lay goose eggs in the cold. They just don't
yeah.
do well in cold weather.
Yeah. And I guess I will probably end up on the
But it may have
Miami
been
side
cold
of
in New
it.
York last weekend. May have been cold last weekend in
Yeah.
New York. I mean,
I
it
mean,
was
it definitely
cold, so I
wasn't
mean, I can't.
warm, but it
But they were
definitely
also
seems
facing
like,
Brady Cook. You know,
yeah,
I don't
no, I
know
mean, the
if they
Jets
got some
were
short
not.
fields. I didn't watch the game much. It just wasn't that interesting
I,
to me.
I mean, yeah, I didn't have it on a ton, but they ran it down their throat, like overall. But, Pitt's definitely, I have them as 6.8 points better than the Jets.
Okay.
So it's a step up for sure in
Yeah.
competition.
So I think kind of what we're
Yeah, that'll
saying
be an
here.
interesting one.
Yeah, I think what we're saying here is we like Cincinnati team. We like
Uh-huh.
Houston. We like the
Uh-huh.
under in the Pittsburgh Miami game.
Yeah.
That's probably the best plays you're going to get out of us on a breakdown for right now. I don't see a lot of other ones jumping off the page that is like, oh, you have to run out and bet it right now. I
No.
probably would lean towards Jacksonville potentially
Yeah.
covering
That
that
that was
number
my
against the
next
Jets.
biggest delta. I make them a 16.9 point favorite.
Yeah, I got them at a nine and a
So
half. So
the 11.5, the 12.5 is kind of a goofy number, but they,
yeah,
I'm getting less and less stressed every week putting big points on them. So
yeah,
I'm sure they
they're
will
executing a little bit
figure out a
better.
way to screw this up, but like Sunshine seems to be making much more consistent decisions
I feel
where
like the
you're
coaching
not
staff
once
is
a
in sync
drive
too.
going, what the hell? Yeah. Yeah. No. And that's probably what he needs. He's had his whole career just going like, here, try Urban Meyer. Like, see how that
Yeah,
goes for you. And him just going like, what in the absolute hell is going on here? So, to finally have a coach for two years in a row and him be a quarterback's guy, maybe we're finally starting to click and getting the talent out of him that we saw when he was in college and he was,
yeah.
doing what he needed to do for Dabo. So hopefully you
Absolutely.
can keep rolling with that. But yeah, I've got a lot
All
of
right,
other
Brandon.
tight
Well,
numbers other than that. So this is
yeah,
gonna
it's
be
all
a
tight.
fun week to try to figure out.
Very fun. Well, hey, while we're having fun, let's pop over real quick, take a peek at
Yeah.
some of our nonsense. Our Power Five. Power Five with the Patriots, Broncos, Bills, Seahawks, the Packers are back in it, and the Rams. What do you think there, man?
I I don't know how you make a strong argument to put anybody else up there at this point. I feel like they are separating themselves. I think, if you want to talk about a top 3 or a top 4, there could be some arguments of who you want out of those 5, but I do feel
Yeah.
like those 5 have, and maybe it's because San Francisco didn't play last week, and so when we
Yeah.
see them get to be at home off a bye against Tennessee, the next week you're gonna be like, "Geez, okay." But
Uh,
they
that's
obviously
possible.
have a defense problem where some of their other NFC West brethren do not have that defensive problem. But these
No.
5 have kind of, as much as I've just been waiting for Denver to finally trip and stumble, they haven't done it yet. They seem to just be trucking along and figuring out how to get
How to
by these
win
games,
games.
even
This
yeah,
is
even
freaking
if
Sean Payton ball.
yeah. So I think, this is a good place to split it and go, hey, these are the 5 that are kind of separating themselves from everybody else.
And I think realistically, the playoffs in sight, I don't know if any of them are really top 5 material at this point based on their body of work, but they're all going to be competitive playoff teams and they're going to be
Yeah.
hard to compete with. I don't think there's any cakewalk. We're going to get a good story this week when we see New England play Buffalo. That's
Yeah.
probably, in my opinion, the game of the week. I'm not sure why they didn't flex that to the Sunday night game instead of Dallas, Minnesota, but um I would much rather watch New England and Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. And I'm a Cowboys
I
fan.
would tend to
So,
agree. No, I think that definitely should have been a standalone game. Um,
yeah.
Rams and Detroit will be another
So
one
we
that that'll
yeah,
be,
yeah.
a real fun, um, even though, a 5.5 point difference from a line perspective, I still think that Detroit has the people to make it dangerous,
Yeah,
and those will probably be the 2 games of the week for sure.
agreed. We've got our geriatric quarterback club. We wanted to just have a quick shout out to Philip Rivers for joining the NFL again and foregoing his Hall of Fame eligibility if he that makes an active roster. And
Yeah,
he's going to be right there with Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco and Kirk Cousins. Why not? He's there,
yeah.
37. He's not quite in the 40 club, but he's there.
No, but if you run that speed, we get to start calling you geriatric.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we got a few others on here. It's going to be a
Yeah,
long off season for Kansas City and Philadelphia and Minnesota and definitely the Cowboys. I A lot of expectations out of these teams. Probably a good chance the Eagles will make the playoffs. Cowboys could sneak in, but one of them's going to make the playoffs, and probably if they don't get their shit straight, they're going to be an early out. Going to be another long off season about what did we do wrong. Kansas City, I don't know if Travis Kelsey's can catch a cold right now.
he is. Yeah, he's definitely in his head. That's for sure.
Yeah, I feel bad about that. So,
Yeah.
good guy. I like him a lot. I'm happy for him, but man, I would like to see him make a few more of those catches. Teams on life support, I think, I look at Carolina and Tampa, and I say they're on life support because neither one of them are really wanting to win this, but neither one of them want to lose it, right? It's like they're right there, and then all the fourth quarter, oh, I'm gonna come back and score some points, and it's really kind of hard when I was looking at the standings, and they're just two pretty mediocre teams leading that division because the Saints are terrible and the Falcons are terrible. I don't have a lot else on them.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very weird split to have a team that, you know, we thought, might do a little better than they did last year. Carolina was kind of on the upswing,
Could
but
feel it,
now,
yeah.
they're just back having like a regular, record, 7-6, 13
Yeah.
13 weeks, games into the season, and to be above 500, where they thought they were a year and a half ago. This has to be at least, you know, exciting. But this season, it seems like whoever decides to make it through here is just going to be a buzzsaw for some
Oh, yeah.
team. Like
Absolutely
I
agree.
don't know if they have the structure or the health to really separate themselves. Now, obviously, Tampa Bay has the ability, if they get healthy, to have
They could
a
knock somebody off.
crazy offensive weapons. Like
Yeah.
you could just, through sheer offensive power, if you can get Igbokwe and Evans and Godwin and Irving and whoever's playing tight end for them, whoever's healthiest, if Baker's shoulder works okay, all of a sudden you've got a problem on your hands. But it's thin in a real thin line to keep all
Yeah.
those guys healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. They're the kind of team that's going to go into Green Bay and knock them off. It'll be cold. Baker doesn't care if it's cold. He's going to be running around, throwing weird touchdowns to Igbokwe. You're going to see Bucky Irving splash for a 35-yard run. You're going to have that picture of LaFleur over on the sidelines with his tight haircut, freezing his ears off, like going, what's going on?
What's
He's doing his
happening?
best
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh. He's doing his Jim Harbaugh impression. What's going on? Anyway, speaking of dumbasses of the week, who's the biggest dumbass of the week? Is it, and I maybe three choices, is it the Washington Commanders for playing their franchise quarterback with a bum elbow and their season's done and just throwing him out there with a re-injury? Is it Kevin Stefanski for not playing Shedeur Sanders early, but better yet, when he finally does play him and the man leads you back and throws up 300 yards and the defense and the team's believing in him, taking him out in the 2-point conversion play? I understand. Yeah, the last couple have worked. Maybe do something different. Or the Tennessee Titans, who actually had the gall to go in and beat them and waste. Now they're no longer in first place for the draft. They're no longer in line for the first place. The New York Football Giants are. Can you believe this shit?
Yeah. For me, it's the Tennessee thing, right? Like the other two,
Hard to throw it when you're a professional athlete, though.
Well, it is, but to be in a position where you're running that team. Like obviously your coaches, your players should be playing at full speed. But to be running the team and to go, here's where we're at. We are 1-11 and we're separated from everybody else. And to go, no, let's just keep running everybody out there and see what kind of W's we can get. And then, now win a game. And now it's them and Vegas and the Giants that are all at 2 wins. And, Vegas has the hardest schedule the rest of the way. So just, mathematically, you're looking at, them probably having the highest probability of not winning another game where maybe the other two teams do. And then, you lose your ability to get that number 1 pick. So I got to put it on them, Cleveland, Washington, I guess you at least get caught trying. I don't know what the explanation is for those, but at least they're doing what they can to move everything forward. So the Jaden Daniels thing is criminal, but
I would
guess
vote for the Jaden Daniels thing.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, you don't need a quarterback.
The
The Titans don't need a quarterback, so they don't have to have the number 1 pick. They could have the number 2 and get the best offensive lineman out there to protect their current quarterback or defensive player. There'll probably be a quarterback taken number 1 by, the Giants won't. The Raiders definitely do. the Raiders would love to have number 1 pick and get the top quarterback coming out. I don't know who that's going to be. Is that going to be Ty Simpson or is it going to be,
I don't
I don't think
know.
it's Lenore Sellers.
I think they're going to start talking themselves into something because the draft guys go, this is not the good draft. Next year is the good draft.
Yeah.
So whoever talks themselves into this, if you end up with that first pick and you go, hey, let's take you're really getting far out on that limb to have it come apart behind you if you take one of these guys and don't just, hey, let's take a top notch offensive lineman or defensive lineman or something, build up the strengths of the team on whoever the best player is this year and then go, hey, we got to figure the quarterback thing out. Unless, hey, you have your scouts. And if somebody goes, hey, we really think one of these guys is going to be a game changer, then I guess you take your swing at it. But you're really, you're betting a lot on none of these guys having that pedigree coming out.
Oh, I agree. The good news is the Giants and the Titans don't need one. The Raiders definitely do. And the Saints may
It
have
sure
kind of
seems
found their
like
guy
it.
in this Tyler Shug, I think is how they pronounce that. But
Yeah.
he's not doing too bad, and he's looking a little bit more comfortable every week. And Kellen Moore can coach quarterbacks, so I'm curious to watch him
Yeah.
develop over the next few weeks.
Yeah. It seems like at least the Saints have a plan. Hey, this season isn't going to go well, but we're going to figure a thing out. We're going to get to the end of the year and we're going to have some data points to make the next decision about. Kind of helps in relation to what we're talking about with Cleveland, where you go, hey, we're just going to get 5 different quarterbacks, play them kind of randomly, hope one of them just does okay. New Orleans at least went, here's our guy, we're going to play him. The outcome's going to be what the outcome is. And we're going to know whether we need to draft another quarterback or not.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well that's our fun slide. Let's hit real quick. We've had tons of people eliminated in Survivor. Brandon, do you have our stats on where we're at with Survivor for Sandman?
We are down to a dozen people. So congrats to the 12 that are still alive. We lost another 36 last week. 28 got Tampa. That was rough for everybody. The rest were a mix of Cleveland, KC, and Philly. That was unfortunate.
Wow.
Man, we got down, flipping from Sandman Survivor over to Circa. They went from 900 to 10 in the last week and a half. And speaking of the Eagles, one of the entries was on the Eagles Monday nights. That had to have been insane to be sitting somewhere watching that game, go into overtime, knowing that your entry is worth somewhere in the 1.5 to 1.8 million dollars range, and you have it all stacked on the shoulder of Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts. So,
and their 4 interceptions.
It'll be interesting to see, like where our dozen end up going this week, and kind of what we've got the opportunity, as we can see here on our slide, our top play being Seattle. It looks like from a quick cursory look of the 12, 2, 4, 6, 8 of the 12 used Seattle last week. So, there's, a reasonable percentage of them are, have used San Fran, though, it's not everybody. 2 weeks ago, one of the guys used them. 3 weeks ago, 4 people used them. And then I don't see any more San Francisco. So we may have a heavy San Francisco week this week. You would think, interestingly enough, that back-to-back weeks, you know, we had a bunch of people take Tampa last week. They get taken out by, oh, sorry. No, I was thinking backwards. They got taken out by New Orleans, not Tennessee. So yeah, San
Yep.
Francisco has Tennessee coming to town. Puts us in a position where, you know, for those 12 there, San Francisco's probably a pretty high pick. Seattle, in my mind, if you have them available, is, I guess we end up with them as a top play because to me, that Indianapolis thing is kind of a higher variance play. That either you got
Yeah.
a rookie or a grandpa starting on the other side, and either one of those can completely
Either way,
implode.
though, it's hard to go into Seattle and win, rookie
It
or
is.
grandpa.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So yeah, you got those two, and then we get down to the risk reward, and you've got Chicago here. What are your thoughts on Chicago?
Well, really, the play for Chicago here is more that Cleveland has just not been great. They are a little bit of a wild card. You know, they've got Myles Garrett going for the sack record. He's going to be, you know, pinned his ears back, but it's not just a one-man defense. They do have a decent defense in Cleveland. It is at home for Chicago. You're a little nervous about, you know, what is Sanders going to do? He's a little bit of a wild card. But you're not going to play Chicago against Green Bay, San Francisco, or Detroit. You have other options to play some of these other teams later on. This is your last shot at playing Chicago. So, from a risk reward perspective, you're still going to have teams available, potentially like Kansas City or Houston if you haven't played them yet. But even if you have, you know, Buffalo's still going to be hanging around there at a good percentage. Green Bay is. You know, there's some other teams. Detroit's got Pittsburgh next week that have some plays. So really it's kind of leaning on Chicago right now, use them or lose them.
That sounds very sound. And look, you know, if they are who they think they are, they took the loss last week. It's
Yeah.
time to bounce back.
Yep,
You
it
know,
is.
maybe they can't cover. Maybe Cleveland keeps it inside the 7.5. But if you lose back-to-back weeks, um, you kind of go back to being that middling Chicago, and you're not really driving anymore. So
Yeah. They need to
narratively,
take care of business this week.
it's a nice story as well. Yeah.
So for our plays, Brandon, we have a couple of teams out here that are a little bit different than what's even on the board. We've got the Texans and we've got the Bucks. I'm kind of leaning towards the Texans here. If it was me and I had them available still, I do not think Arizona's very good. I think they're a team on the upswing. They've won several. They've got we do have another place to play them next week. They've got Vegas. So they would have another one, but if I'm trying to survive and move on, I'm gonna stay right on Houston. What about you? And
I burned Houston early. Though I tend to agree with your analysis there. I because the survivor pool that I'm still live in has the ability to catch up. Um, I I have San Francisco left, but so does the vast majority of the pool that I'm in. So I need some people to take heavy favorites and those trip up. So Tampa has the lowest number of available slots left for me outside of Baltimore and Buffalo, who don't have a good matchup this week. So Tampa, less than a third of the league have them left. So I'm going to jump on that and hope that we have some carnage at the top of the pool, and maybe I can close the gap a little bit on my opponents.
I'm sure you're going to be able to. So, just a couple things to note before we wrap up here. First and foremost, we heard from the Sandman himself this week. There was a slight shout out saying that he might be interested in a public appearance on the St. Louis Syndicate. in the near future.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to arrange that sometime, maybe a playoff version or something, or maybe right after the holidays when we're in that dead time between New Year's and the playoffs. Mr. Sandman himself would be willing to come on and shoot the breeze about the Seahawks and how the season's going. And I cannot confirm nor deny, but he acknowledged Uno Mas as a statement. So when we talked about potentially needing a Sandman game for those of us who lose early and want to continue to play, the Sandman has heard the cries of the people, and he potentially, we'll see what they come up with. So Uno Mas has starting to grow legs, Brandon. That's the good news from us.
I love to hear it. It'll be pretty sweet if we can work that out.
All right. That'd be awesome. Well, hey, Sandman Nation, we are the St. Louis Syndicate. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We rambled for an hour and a half. And just to make this right, I'm boycotting. I'm out.
Cheers, everyone.